All right, in this chapter, we're going to take some of the 2-5-1 progressions that we just learned, those left-handed voicings, and we're going to put them into an actual tune. I like to use jazz standards, like real tunes, so you can kind of try these out on an example that you might actually use, that you might actually play. So I was going through, and a tune that I really love, Autumn Leaves, really famous, really popular jazz standard. It works nicely. The chord progression works really nicely to try to use some of these voicings that we've been talking about today. So the first, for those of you who aren't familiar with Autumn Leaves, it's very, you probably heard the melody. So the chord changes are C minor 7 to F7 to B flat major 7. Okay? So just that right there is what we've been talking about all day. In all of these chapters so far, we've been talking about a 2-5-1 and B flat, and those are the first three chords that we have on this tune. C minor 7, F7, B flat. Okay? Then it goes to an E flat major 7, and the next part that is really interesting to us, we're going to talk about, is a 2-5-1 in a minor mode. So it goes 2-5 to G minor, A minor 7 flat 5 to D7 to G minor 7. So we're going to break this up into two parts. The first part we're going to talk about is the 2-5-1 in B flat, the C minor 7, F7, B flat major 7. And we've been talking about that for a good chunk already, so we'll kind of get through that, and it should be pretty straight ahead, pretty easy to understand. And then we'll talk about the minor 2-5 and how to play through that. Okay? So the 2-5-1 that we've talked about in B flat major, we've already kind of looked at it. And we said, if going through our little rules, C major 7, we'll put the 7th in the bass, replace the root with the 9. There's our C minor 7, I might have said major. There's C minor 7. F7 is just bringing that B flat down a half step to A. And if you're confused as to how we got there, let's look at that really quickly. Here's our F7 voicing. I'm going to hold that right there. F, A, C, E flat. So that's the first step. Spell it in root position. We're going to step 2 is we're going to put the 3rd in the bass. We're going to replace the root with the 9 and the 5 with the 13. Okay, so that's how we got this voicing right here. Same voicing. C minor 7, F7, B flat major 7. Now you'll notice on the F7, I'm not going to use any altered extensions. I'm going to use a natural 9 and a natural 13. I'm not going to use flat 9 and flat 13. That doesn't mean that I couldn't use it. I could do this if I wanted to. But I'm going from C minor 7 to F7 to a major 1. So just to kind of give you some context, some compare and contrast, I'm going to use the natural 9 and the natural 13 to go to my major 1 chord. Now, let's look at the E flat major, which we haven't discussed yet. E flat major 7. Let's go through and see if we can build that together. First step is spell the chord in root position. So, root, 3, 5, 7. The next step is we're going to invert the chord so that the 3rd or the 7th is in the bass. Here we'll use the 3rd. Now we're going to replace the root with the 9th. There's our 9th. So here's our E flat major 7 chord. And let's once again look at how that voice leading works so nicely. C minor 7, F7, B flat major 7, E flat major 7. So those are the first 4 chords of the tune. All right? And if you want to play that melody, you can fish that melody out of a real book. You can sit down and play your left-hand voicings. Or we just started it before in this inversion. All right? All right, that's the first 4 chords. Pretty straight ahead. Now, the next 2-5 is a little bit, it's where I see students get a little bit confused. So here's one of the rules that I like to make for myself on minor 7 flat 5 chords. So the next chord in our progression for Autumn Leaves is an A minor 7 flat 5 voicing. So let's look at what that is. A minor 7 flat 5 is A, then a flat 3, so A is our root, flat 3, flat 5, and flat 7. So So this is our root 3, 5, 7. Now, I generally, and I mean this as a player who plays out a lot on jazz gigs and stuff like that, to this day still, I don't do a lot to my minor 7 flat 5 voicings. I don't do a lot other than play them in root position or some inversion of it. I don't do a lot to put extensions on my voicings for this particular chord. Okay, and the reason is because it's the extensions that are available. It actually depends, without getting too theoretical, it actually depends on what tonal center you're in. Okay, so what is diatonic to this chord? So without getting too theoretical about it, I like to just play my A minor 7 flat 5 or any of my minor 7 flat 5 voicings using root 3, 5, and 7 in some inversion. So I could play it like this, I could play it like this, I could play it like this, or I could play it like this. Right? Those are just all the various inversions of this chord. Root in the bass, third in the bass, fifth in the bass, seventh in the bass. But there are, in some contexts, some extensions that are available. So one extension that's always available is the flat 13. You'll always have the flat 13 available on a minor 7 flat 5 voicing. All right? Let's hold on to that chord for 1 second and go to the next chord in our progression, the 5, going to the minor 1. So here, D7 going to G minor 7. Let's use D7 as our opportunity to incorporate some of those flat 9 and flat 13 voicings that we learned about in the last chapter. So we're going to spell our D7 voicing first. Root 3, 5, 7. We're going to invert it so the third is in the bass. We're going to replace the root with the 9 and the 5 with the 13. Okay, so here's our D7 voice. I'm going to play it down the octave. Now, because we're going to a minor 1, because we're going to G minor, we're going to use some of these alterations. We're going to use a flat 9 and a flat 13. So we're going to find our 9th, and we're going to lower it by half step to make it a flat 9. We're going to find our 13th, the B, and we're going to lower that by half step to make it a flat 13. So now here is our D7, flat 9, flat 13 voicing. And that works really well to resolve to G minor 7. So let's go through that 2-5-1 progression in minor one more time. For the A minor 7 flat 5, I'm just going to play the inversion of that chord. So 7, root, 3, 5. I'm not worrying about any extensions or substituting any of the chord tones for anything else. I'm just going to play root 3, 5, 7 in some inversion for my minor 7 flat 5. For my D7, my dominant 7 chord, I'm playing flat 9, flat 13, and of course my guide tones, my 3rd and my 7th, are always in my chords. And then resolves nicely to G minor 7. Okay? And if you're confused about how we got G minor 7, again, refer back to the chapter in this lesson where we talk how to build, step by step, how to build these voicings. As a quick refresher, we got this G minor 7 by taking the G minor 7 in root position. We said that's step 1, root position. Step 2, invert it so the 7th is in the bottom. Now replace the root with the 9, step 3. Okay, and you can see, same chord. That's how we got to that G minor 7 voicing. So now we're going to play through that progression, the beginning of Autumn Leaves, all the way through. So C minor 7, F7, B flat major 7, to E flat major 7, to A minor 7 flat 5. I don't have any upper extensions in this voicing. To D7 flat 9 flat 13, to G minor 7. All right, and that was when I started on my C minor voicing with the 7th in the bass. Let's just take a look at that, how it would look if we started with the other inversion that we learned today, the 3rd in the bass. So C minor 7 to F7, B flat major 7, to E flat major 7, to A minor 7 flat 5. Again, I'm not using any extensions on that particular voicing, on that particular chord, minor 7 flat 5, just 3, 5, 7, and root. And then D7, flat 9, flat 13, to G minor 7. Okay, Okay, let's go through that one more time. All right. So those are the kind of things you'd want to practice over using Autumn Leaves as an example. Practicing playing starting in both places in the inversion, with the 7th in the bass for the first chord and with the 3rd in the bass for the first chord, and bringing it through the cycle of changes. The 2-5-1 in major, it goes up to the E flat major, and then a 2-5-1 in G minor. When we see the 5 going to a minor 1, we're going to incorporate some of our altered upper extensions, our flat 9s or sharp 9s and flat 13s.